The two main antagonists in the Kenyan political scene have decided to bury their hatchets and work together as a way of healing a sharply divided nation, a move that has come as a surprise to many, with others castigating the NASA leader Raila-Uhuru and accusing him of betrayal. However, for those who have been calling for an end to the prolonged political bickering, they say the move that the President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila-Uhuru may come as a much welcome relief. This morning on News Center, we interrogate the impact of the newly formed pact on national cohesion and healing. What exactly does it mean for the ordinary Kenyan who has for a long time remained caught up in the web of political disquiet? Welcome back to News Center. Thank you very much for staying with us. We continue with our conversation and our coverage. Remember, on Twitter, we were asking you if that meeting between the two leaders is enough to bring and, of course, to start that conversation of national healing and cohesion. Tweet us. KTN News Center is a hashtag, or you can tweet me directly at Betty M. Kialo. All right, so I want us now to have that discussion that I had promised earlier. Joining me in studio right now is Daniel Juma, the Executive Director of Global Peace Foundation. Thank you very much for joining us, Daniel.
Thank you.
All right, so of course, quite a number of mixed reactions coming as a result of this meeting between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila-Uhuru. From where you sit, having been a person who's been championing for national cohesion and healing, what do you make of it?
Thank you, Betty. We were very pleasantly surprised that at last President Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila-Uhuru decided to dialogue. And as you remember, I've been a proponent of this kind of dialogue because I have been saying that matters of national, matters to do with the state, has to involve dialogue.
Yes.
And as you remember, during the electioneering period, we also recommended dialogue as a way to finding the problem that we had, the electoral problems, the IEBC. If only they had talked about these issues, then we would have solved these issues much more faster. So from where I sit, and from the people that have been calling for, national cohesion, we are very, very happy with what happened, and we would like to congratulate the president and former Prime Minister Raila-Uhuru for having taken that step. That is symbolic.
Right.
Even though people are complaining, some people are complaining,
many people
but
are.
I can tell you that a majority of NASA supporters, the ones that I've spoken to, are happy because this was a prolonged political antagonism that was going nowhere.
Right.
So, and Raila-Uhuru, as the leader of NASA, the people, basically, his followers entrusted him, to make decisions on their behalf.
Yes.
So, if today he decides to talk to the president and usher the nation forward, then the people basically will go with that.
Right.
Yes.
But the principles, one of the things that they're saying is that, they were not told or consulted, about this meeting. But even before we get to that, of course, you mentioned quite correctly that, there's a lot of discomfort from especially the core principals who feel they were left out of the whole equation. But then, how do you draw the balance between, trying to move the country forward and also not betraying or not leaving behind these people who have been with him, since they decided to come together as a coalition?
Yeah, judging from history, we have always seen that, especially the handlers, especially hardliners around both sides of the political divide, most of the time, they are an impediment, to progress. And even during the Kibaki-Raila time, you remember, the only time that Kibaki and Raila could move forward was when they left their handlers behind.
Right.
Now, what we are saying is that, of course, this is the NASA is, of course, a partnership, a coalition, but we all know that Raila is the NASA leader. And you can see, for example, when Musalia Mudavadi decides to call a press conference and criticize a meeting, instead of waiting to call his principal and get clarification about the meeting, when he rushes to call a press conference and complain about that meeting, that tells you about the unity in NASA. You know, that tells you the kind of disrespect, you know, they may have shown to their leader.
Right.
And I would understand if I was in Raila's place, I would probably do the same thing, because then that shows, you know, the country that not everything has been well within NASA.
Yes, yes.
So that tells you that, you know, whatever happened was a sign of the problem that have been going on within NASA. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And today they're supposed to have a summit. Will be, of course, you know, covering it for you here on KTN News. But I want us also to just move this conversation forward and just talk about the impact, really. You know, for the many Kenyans who have had hardline stands on either side of Uhuru Kenyatta or Raila Odinga, what do you think was symbolic appreciation when they saw these people finally shaking hands and coming together and smiling, and, you know, after a long political antagonism time?
As I've always said, that elections are only meant to enable us to choose our leaders. You know, and in the kind of political dispensation that we have, you know, we don't have opposition and government. You know, even parliament, we have majority and minority. So the process of election is only supposed to help us to sieve, to get our leaders. After that, whoever is elected president, you know, serves the whole nation. So what we have been seeing, especially with the prolonged electioneering, you know, has been basically preventing progress. You know, service delivery, you know, whereby we find you know, places like the NASA strongholds feeling like they've been left out.
Right.
But this is just perception.
Yes.
You get my point?
Yes.
So for me, I think, and this is what I've been telling you know, the supporters, that as a voter, you only vote. You know, you only vote and go back home. Now, the people who have complaints, the people who have something to complain about, are the people who ran for president. So if you never ran for president or for governor, then why is it? Why do you care? Why do you complain? You get my point? So the most important thing is that whoever is elected should bring the nation to, you know, together, should make sure that there is service delivery. Like right now, you know, I'm very hopeful that this pact will open, you know, the way for every Kenyan to get services, you know, for funds, devolution funds, to, you know, to flow freely all over, including the opposition strongholds. And this is very, very important. So what we need is to have civic education. And I'm told there's going to be some unity kind of trip between the two principles so that they can explain to the people. The people should be able to understand that they are citizens, you know, and these are their leaders. If they make the decision today to work together, then why should they complain? What have you lost? You have lost nothing.
Right. And it's interesting that you say that, because also, you know, the bigger conversation really, apart from the handshake and, you know, these two people coming together, is the deep-sighted issues that, you know, Kenyans have so far, you know, had. Like you mentioned, you know, there are people from certain regions who feel that they've never gotten really the fruits of any government. They feel that they have been left behind, whether it's to do with development. So how important is it that, you know, these two move away from just the handshake and coming together to, you know, going into the deeper issues of why Kenyans in some certain regions feel like they have been disenfranchised for a long time?
These two leaders, President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, they want to leave a legacy. And this is a very, very pivotal moment for both of them. You know, they have been involved. You know, the rivalry between the Kenyattas and the Odingas is historical. You know, so the nation has always been divided when this rivalry is active. So I believe that both of them would love to leave a legacy. You know, they don't want to leave behind a divided nation. And this is what I understood from the speech by the president and also by Honorable Raila Odinga. I think this is very, very critical. You know, that, you know, I don't think President Kenyatta would like to be remembered as a man whom, during his watch, Kenya was divided. You remember very well during the elections. Most of the counties in Nyanza did not vote. You know, that has never happened before. That you are the president of a nation, you know, and some areas of the country that you are leading are not able to vote. So I think, that kind of a legacy, I don't think is good for anyone. So I'm very, very happy that at last the president, there's nothing wrong with talking. I've always said that anything that can be discussed can be sorted, and the fact that they have decided to talk, to discuss, this is going to leave this nation, into a better position to achieve Vision 2030.
All right.
To achieve the president's Big Four agenda. And you remember during the Grand Coalition government between Raila and Kibaki, that is the time when this nation actually achieved meaningful development.
Yes, yes.
So as from the private sector, we are hoping that this pact will unlock development, will unlock funds. Basically, the nation will be at a happy stage, to leapfrog to the next frontier. To the next frontier.
Yeah. All right. One of the issues really that also, brought us to where we were, this stalemate, this political stalemate, was the fact that, for Raila Odinga, he felt like there were a number of issues which, took center stage, during this electioneering period. There were issues to do with electoral injustice. Even as they moved together, forward together. Should we see also these conversations and, transformations in different parts of the issues that they had, like say the electoral system? Should we still have conversations with regards so that the people who also were staunch supporters of what Raila Odinga stood for do not feel like, something went wrong and all that was forgotten?
Oh, yes. And I think some of those were covered in the statements that they both released. I believe that, they are now at a better position to actually solve those issues, rather than from outside, Raila from outside and trying to ask, please do this. But if he's, on the table and jointly sort out the issues, I think those issues can be, there's a good amount of goodwill to enable those issues to be corrected.
All right.
So I think we need to really, as a nation, look at this positively. Usually if you don't have the goodwill of the political elite, it's not easy to move forward. But if we have the goodwill, from both of them, then it is easy to make even the electoral reforms, even the IBC, because now there's nothing that is holding them. They have already decided, let bygones be bygones. Let us move forward. Let us reform the issues that we disagreed over, so that future elections can be better.
All right.
Yes.
Do you think that, the other core principles should sort of like have responsibility on their backs? Because even them, they have their own supporters who also would feel the need to follow their leaders and what their leaders are saying about this quote-unquote betrayal. What responsibility do they have with regard to, being part of this new pact or this new unity between the two leaders?
Betty, nothing stops the principles, from actually leading. I think this pact has not stopped them from actually going forward with their political, formations. Raila Odinga has been fighting for democratization for a long time, for reforms for a long time. And he wants to leave a legacy. Look at his age, still being, beaten by tear gas. So these people should just lead. If Raila Odinga had decided to work with Kenyatta to be able to unite the country, he hasn't stopped them from even moving forward with NASA and moving forward with the reforms. This thinking that now that Raila is talking to President Uhuru, now everything stops. This is all fallacy.
Right.
And we need leaders of principle, who says that, fine, these two can talk. These two are friends, by the way. You can't. I said earlier on that whatever happened, the handshake was a culmination of behind the scenes, what is going on behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah, so you cannot, control your party leader and say, you cannot talk to President Kenyatta before you tell us. But you have to inform us before you call him. No, that's not how you do things. You must give your leader respect, that sometimes he may see it wise to move a certain direction without informing you guys, but then he will let you know. Like, if there's a meeting today I'm sure he'll be able to explain to them. So I think that the leaders, especially the NASA leaders, they know that they have the future. They should just take the mantle and run with it. Nobody has stopped them. They should always not complain. I don't think that the opposition must always be led by Raila Odinga. Why not Kalonzo? Why not Mudavadi? Why not the young Sifuna? Why can't they run instead of complaining? This gives them a good chance to actually, also let's see what they can do.
What they can do.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, General Juma. He's Executive Director of Global Peace Foundation. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Welcome.
All right. So we want to shift gears, but remember that this is a conversation that is continuing online. We're asking you if you think there's going to be a bigger impact really with regards to national healing now that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga decided to bury the hatchet. We would like to hear your thoughts on this one. Quite a number of tweets coming through. I'll sample them in a matter of minutes here on the show. But before that happens, let's just take a look